everybody, I'm Jammer, and welcome back to another Animal Crossing New Horizons video. The other week, we talked about some of the ideas I had for new things and features to come to the game through the next upcoming free fall update. And of course, thank you all for the amazing support on that video. So today is kind of a follow-up to that video and talking a little bit further down the road when it comes to a fall update. If you haven't checked out that video, I definitely recommend it, but it's obvious to assume the fall update's gonna be covering the Halloween holiday. But one thing I intentionally omitted from the video was the next upcoming holiday, being the Harvest Festival. There's only a little under a month between Halloween and the Harvest Festival, or Thanksgiving, and so it's safe to assume that that update could either come alongside this upcoming fall update, or could be a fall update part 2 that would come soon after. But the reason I wanted to talk more about it in depth is that it may be likely that some of the datamine information we saw might be more inclined to come with a later fall update wave 2, or whatever update will bring along the Harvest Festival. But before we get into all that, if you are new here, perhaps consider subscribing. It's free, you can always change your mind later, and you of course can expect tons more on Animal Crossing New Horizons. So thanks for listening to all that. Without further ado, let's get started. Back all the way in the spring update, as well as the summer wave 1 update, data miners had found some interesting information hinting towards potential new features that could be coming to the game. In their findings, they found a bunch of code hinting at 6 food types that would be able to be grown and picked: tomatoes, potatoes, carrots, pumpkins, wheat, and sugar. Now, of course, this could have been a feature that they were experimenting with early in development that was later scrapped once it came to release. However, that might not be the case, because in the later summer update, data miners had noticed that a lot of the code names that were in reference to these 6 food types that were able to be grown have since changed since a previous update that was datamined. And why this is interesting is that it means that these 6 food types are still being worked on and are still receiving development. In turn, meaning farming as well as cooking might be some new features that will be coming soon to the game. And why specifically I want to talk more in depth about it today, it makes perfect sense to be right on time for the Harvest Festival, just in time for autumn, when typically in real life farmers yield their last round of crops, and that's part of the reason why the Harvest Festival exists in the first place, where a surplus of food is collected so everyone celebrates the long hard working summer with an amazing harvest feast. But let's first talk about how farming is going to work in Animal Crossing. Because Animal Crossing has been a very unique life simulation game where really has never incorporated farming like other ones have. Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, and other games of a similar genre really focus of a lot of other life simulation games. So when it comes to incorporating those kind of gameplay mechanics into an Animal Crossing title, they could go the similar route of those games where, you buy seeds, you water it each day, you sell the crops once they're mature, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel Animal Crossing enough. I mean, if you had told me that the newest Animal Crossing game was gonna have a crafting bench, my thought would immediately jump to like Minecraft and collecting materials like that. I never would have expected it to look like that at all when it comes to an Animal Crossing game. So I think that's why it'll make sense. Animal Crossing is going to have some sort of spin on farming that'll be very different from what we've seen in other similar games. The first question I have is, where can we plant crops? Do we just till the land with a new hoe tool? But again, I think that's just leaning too much into similar to what we've seen before. Perhaps instead of being able to plant anywhere, there will instead be crafting recipes for like a flower bed or a garden bed where you can plant crops, coming in a variety of like 1x1, 1x2, 2x2, and then those flower beds can be placed outside and in different locations. Fertilizer was an item that actually was introduced in New Leaf that was sold at Leaf's garden shop. Essentially what you would do is you would bury it next to a flower or tree, so in the case of trees, you'd increase the chances of getting perfect fruit, or for flowers, a higher chance of getting a hybrid flower offspring. So since we've already seen an item like that in the series past, it would make a lot of sense for something similar to return here, where perhaps if you fertilize your garden bed, the crops that you plant in there grow quicker or have a higher chance of being of better quality. And while we're on this topic, I think in addition to seeing these 6 new food types being introduced, it would make a lot of sense if they did bring along the previous fruit types that did not make it to New Horizons. Mangoes, lemons, persimmons, bananas, durans, and lychees. These 6 fruit trees were introduced in New Leaf and did not return here in New Horizons. So since this is already theming up to be a food-themed update, it would kind of make sense to throw those in there as well. But here's the question. what would you do with these crops? Sure, you could sell them and get some bells, but there's gotta be more uses than that. As we all know, in previous Animal Crossing games, you could eat fruit, but it really wouldn't do much for you. However, here in New Horizons, they introduced the stamina bar system, where if you eat some fruit, you'll have the extra burly muscles to be able to pick up and pocket entire trees, and also have the ability to break rocks. So I'm sure if you eat these crops that are grown, they'll probably have a very similar mechanic to what we already seen with the fruit in the game. If you eat like a tomato or a potato, it'll increase your stamina bar that you can then pick up trees or break rocks and etc. Beyond eating and selling, it would make a ton of sense that these new crops would also be able to be used in brand new crafting recipes. They could introduce a handful of new DIYs to craft food furniture, craft like harvest themed items like a cornucopia, and perhaps other holiday themed furniture for the harvest festival itself. And beyond all of these options, the other thing you could do with these crops that was also indicated in the datamine as well is cooking. Having the ability to mixing and making different food recipes. But it makes me wonder, to what end though? What's going to be the point of cooking up this food anyways? It's worth mentioning that cooking recipes is actually something not new to the Animal Crossing series. Matter of fact, in New Leaf, when you celebrated the Harvest Festival, when Franklin would come to town, he would request the player to help him prepare the dishes for the banquet. He would have you collect different ingredients for 4 of the different courses, for a salad, a soup, a main course, and a dessert. Most recipes would consist of a lot of things you could collect throughout your town already, like apples, fish, mushrooms, and other edible collectibles. Some recipes he would request you to cook, though, required special ingredients like flour, vinegar, butter. In order to get these ingredients, you would go to the homes of the villagers that were in their houses, and in a very cute way, you would ask them for the missing ingredients you're missing. They would be busy in their home cooking for their own big Thanksgiving meal, and coincidentally would be missing an ingredient as well. So the villager would request you to get a fish or other different ingredient stuff that you could trade with them to get the ingredient that you need. But even once you had all the ingredients together to make the required dish, there was a secret ingredient that you could add to each of the recipes that would make it even better and even tastier. So building off of these ideas that were introduced in just the Harvest Festival, we can kind of expand to how those mechanics could be overarching in a cooking update that could come to New Horizons. There could be a variety of different recipes and stuff you could learn as kind of DIYs through villagers and such. And you could craft, technically cook your dishes into reality using these different ingredients. Once you have finally prepared a recipe, perhaps maybe the combined ingredients will sell for more money. Maybe they're actually placeable like furniture, so you can put them on like tables and stuff and look really cute. Another idea could be is if you consumed the prepared recipe, and rather than giving you a boost of 1 stamina, perhaps it could offer different properties, maybe more stamina in one go, temporarily increasing your run speed, or perhaps even your luck if that mechanic is brought back. I think the reason I want this the most, I want to be able to prepare soup for when my villagers are sick, so they can snuggled up in a blanket in their home, sipping on their little soup that I prepare for them. I think that would be just so adorable. But speaking of villagers and food items, this kind of perfectly segues to something else I kind of wanted to talk about that's in relation to all this. I'm sure you've all well noticed that villagers will often have little cute food items that they hold when walking around your town. Sometimes it's a donut, a popsicle, a sandwich, or in the case of drinks, they'll have some soda, a fancy drink with a straw in it, tea, and other things like that. So this potential cooking system could bring about having you, the player, access these cute little edible food items, but instead, I actually had another idea for these little treats. What if, by everyone's massive requests, they bring back the roost? And of course, they would bring back the typical mechanic that was already previously with it, where you get your daily coffee from Brewster and whatnot. You can meet different characters and villagers at the roost and such. But wouldn't it be kind of cute that on a daily rotating inventory, Brewster would also sell the little treats that you see your villagers walking around the town with? So perhaps on one day he'll sell like a popsicle, a sandwich, and a drink, and the next day he sells a variety of different items that you, the player, can get, and so you can hang out with your villagers and eat some little treats together. I think that would just be so adorable, and I want it to happen so bad. So those are my ideas of how I could see them incorporating farming, cooking, and other kind of mechanics like that in a potential new update coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons. What are your thoughts on bringing farming and cooking to the game? I'd love to hear how you think it'll be incorporated in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a big awesome like, and if you haven't already, definitely subscribe for tons more on Animal Crossing New Horizons. As a reminder, we do stream this game every weekend at 10 AM Eastern right here on YouTube Live. That's both Saturdays and Sundays. We work on a ton of fun projects, have you guys on my island. It's a lot of fun. Be sure to follow me over on Twitter as well as my Instagram page to keep up with everything we do with the channel, as well as join our community Discord. The link to that is in the description below. It's a great place to find friends to play Animal Crossing with, trade turnips, items, villagers, and all that fun stuff. I highly encourage you to check it out. So thanks guys again so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!